The next aspect of running technique we're going to cover is foot strike. What part of your foot hits the ground first?
There are three possible methods of foot strike a runner can use. The first is a heel strike, with the weight coming down on the heel first. Most runners use this method of foot strike. The second type of foot strike is flat-footed. In this method, the heel and forefoot land simultaneously, with the weight coming down on both. The third method of foot strike is a forefoot strike. In this foot strike, the forefoot hits the ground first and bears almost all of the runner's weight. If the heel ever touches the ground, it never bears a significant amount of weight. Efficient runners use the forefoot strike. Efficient runners land on the balls of their feet and never allow their weight to be on their heels. A forefoot landing maximizes the body's natural shock absorption system. Just as the elastic tissues in the feet and calves provide propulsion, they also absorb impact stress. Allowing the heels to become weighted minimizes this function of the feet and calves. The heel is made primarily of bone and is designed for support, not cushioning. When a runner weights the heel at foot strike, the body's natural shock absorption system is bypassed. Impact stress is passed directly from the heel up through the ankle to the shin bone, frequently causing shin splints and stress fractures. The shin bone transmits the stress to the knee, which has minimal shock absorption capacity. Impact stress then travels directly up through the thigh bone to the hips to the low back, causing an assortment of injuries. None of these tissues, from the heel all the way up to the low back, is designed to absorb the stress of a runner's foot strike. Weighting the heels at any point in a runner's stride cycle prevents propulsion from the energy return of elastic recoil and allows impact stress to be transmitted to tissues that are not designed to withstand it. Our next drill is called the two-legged hop. Stand with your feet together, with your knees slightly bent and your weight shifted forward onto the balls of your feet. Begin to bounce, hopping just an inch in the air. Make sure that the knee angle stays constant and that all vertical movement comes from the elastic recoil action in the feet and calves. Concentrate on relaxation, especially in the quadriceps. Make sure to keep the hops very short and extremely quick. The purpose of this drill is to develop the ability to create power from the elastic recoil of the feet and calves instead of from muscular contractions of the thighs. Mastering this drill develops the skills of storing and releasing energy quickly through elastic recoil, creating quick contractions in the quadriceps to prevent knee bend at foot strike, and maintaining relaxation in the thighs when contractions are unnecessary. This drill also increases the strength, endurance, and elasticity of the muscles and connective tissue of the foot and calf. Now, try this drill flat-footed, putting half of your weight on the heel and half on the ball of your foot. You should feel that both the effort to maintain a quick turnover and the impact stress increase dramatically. Finally, try doing this drill from your heel. Even more of the same. Do you really want to run your next race that way?
The next aspect of running technique we're going to talk about is developing propulsion. Efficient runners develop propulsion purely horizontally with a minimal vertical displacement, and they use large muscle groups to do it. Large muscle groups, obviously, can do more work without fatiguing than small muscle groups.
Most runners use one of two methods of developing propulsion. I refer to these as the toe-off and the pull-through. Toe-off is the most common method. This uses the action of the quadriceps to straighten the knee for propulsion. This causes two major problems. First, straightening the knee does provide some horizontal propulsion, but it also provides significant vertical movement. Second, the quadriceps are a relatively small muscle group. Small muscle groups fatigue quickly. Efficient runners use the quadriceps only for support, not propulsion, when running on flat ground. Another problem with this method of propulsion that will affect triathletes and duathletes is that the quadriceps are the primary power producer for a cyclist. When a triathlete or duathlete gets off the bike and changes into their running shoes, they will run much faster if they use different muscle groups for propulsion on the run than they have in the bike. The second ineffective method of propulsion frequently used is the pull-through method. Many runners derive most of their propulsion by bending the knee at foot strike. While this may produce an energy-efficient horizontal movement, it places the responsibility of propulsion on a very small muscle group. Have you ever had to slow in the final miles of a race because of severe hamstring fatigue? If so, you may be a pull-through propulsion runner. Efficient runners use the large muscles of the hip more and the smaller muscles of the thigh less. Creating propulsion primarily at the hip instead of the knee engages greater muscle mass, reducing the relative intensity of the work for each muscle. Large muscles can do the same amount of work much easier than small muscles can. The largest and strongest muscle in the body is the gluteus maximus, or glutes. This muscle extends the thigh behind the hip. Efficient runners use hip extension to generate most of their propulsion. This movement at foot strike creates horizontal propulsion and uses several large muscles to do it. The glutes and hamstring muscles are both hip extensors. Which would you expect to be more powerful? Your hamstring muscles or your hamstring muscles and glute muscles combined? Obviously, those two muscle groups together could produce more power without fatiguing than the hamstrings could alone. I call the ideal method of producing propulsion the foot drag movement. The foot drag movement has the runner extend the hip while maintaining a constant, slightly bent knee angle from just before foot strike, during foot strike, and until after the foot leaves the ground. This places most of the stress of propulsion on the glutes, which dramatically reduces muscular stress in the thigh muscles, both quadriceps and hamstrings. Efficient runners understand that sustained, fast running, since it relies heavily on the glutes, is a real pain in the butt. Our next drill is called hip extension. Stand in your running posture and hold on to a railing or a partner for balance. Swing your leg with the knee slightly bent as far backward as you can. Pause for 5 seconds with your leg fully extended behind you to about a 45-degree angle. Feel the tension in the glutes. Maintain an upright posture and do not lean forward from the waist. Return to your running posture and repeat. The next propulsion drill we're going to work on is called the pendulum drill. Again, stand in your running posture and hold on to a railing or a partner for balance. Swing your leg with the knee slightly bent, backward and then forward again. The range of motion of the leg should be from about a 30-degree angle forward to a 45-degree angle backward. Maintain an upright posture and do not lean forward from the waist. Be careful not to allow the knee to bend or straighten significantly. Keep the movement relaxed and feel the gentle contractions in the glutes on the way back and the hip flexors on the way forward. As you gain a feel for the relaxation required for this drill, gradually speed up the movement.
Just before foot strike, most runners hold their foot out in front of them and simply wait for gravity to pull them down into the ground. This is a very inefficient method of foot strike because it causes braking. When the foot hits the ground, the runner slows down.
An athlete running at 8 miles per hour using this technique is asking their foot to instantaneously accelerate from 8 miles per hour to minus 8 miles per hour in order to create propulsion. All of this while the foot is weight bearing. Obviously, that is an impossible task. When the foot, traveling at 8 miles per hour, hits the ground, which is not moving, friction slows the runner down. Efficient runners actually start to pull the foot backward before foot strike. An efficient runner moving 8 miles per hour accelerates his foot backwards from 8 miles per hour to 0 miles per hour before the foot hits the ground. Obviously, it is easier to accelerate the foot and leg before they are weight bearing. This reduces braking at foot strike. The one category of energy expenditure we have not yet discussed is limb movement. Efficient runners minimize the energy cost of moving their legs and perform leg recovery in a way that enables very high turnover. Imagine swinging a 10-foot pole with a certain amount of force. Now cut the pole in half, hold the two pieces together, and swing with the same amount of force. The swing is faster. The pole didn't get lighter, but its center of mass moved closer to your hands, reducing the power required to swing it fast. In the same way, a runner can significantly reduce the energy cost and increase the speed of leg recovery by flicking the heel up towards his butt at the conclusion of the follow-through. During the follow-through, the leg and foot have significant angular momentum. If the runner immediately begins to drive his knee forward while keeping the thigh muscles relaxed, the heel and lower leg will swing upward from their own momentum without hamstring contractions, placing him in this position, which is optimal for a quick, efficient leg recovery. Most runners pause at the completion of the follow-through. This dissipates the backward momentum of the lower leg and foot, requiring contractions of the hamstring muscles to lift the heel and lower leg into the ideal recovery position. Once mastered, this movement will be quick, smooth, light, and relaxed. Make sure to feel the following. The forward knee drive begins powerfully immediately after follow-through. The foot is allowed to lag behind the knee on recovery, and the thigh muscles are kept very relaxed during leg recovery. Only the hip flexor muscles on the front of the hip and the very upper thigh should be working. Since the hamstring muscles contract to extend the hip and create horizontal propulsion, they should not be used for any unnecessary movements which would only increase fatigue. The arms play an important role in running. Though they don't develop propulsion, the arms set the rhythm for runners' strides. The arms determine turnover, the legs determine stride length. Keeping your arms pumping at 180 pumps per minute will make you a faster and more efficient runner. Just as bending the knee for leg recovery reduces energy costs by moving the center of mass of the leg closer to the hip, keeping the elbow bent reduces the energy cost of arm carriage. Efficient runners carry their arms with at least a 90-degree bend. Arm position plays a significant role in body position. Your average arm position should be directly at your side, so make sure that your arms swing backward as much as they swing forward. Many runners swing their arms well forward of the torso, but stop the backward movement when the arms are beside the torso. The average position of the arms is then well in front of the body, and the runner must lean slightly backward with the torso to counterbalance the arms. This reduces the efficiency of the foot strike. One common error with arm carriage is crossing over. Ideally, the arms will track almost perfectly in front of the shoulders, with just a very slight diagonal movement, indicating a very slight torso rotation. A very small torso rotation enables optimal balance. Many runners' arms cross in front of their chest, creating far too much torso rotation and wasting energy. Before your next run, check your heart rate just standing. Now rotate your shoulders back and forth for a minute and see just how much your heart rate increases.